There we go.
This is our presentation on our music preference survey that Tyler and I did. We wanted to know, why do we listen to the music we do? Next. Why music? Everyone has a music preference. Through this survey, we attempted to learn if any factors seem to make people prefer certain music, as well as learn about the music habits of our surveyees.
So we had three main goals going into this. The first one was to learn as much about our surveys as possible. This included asking closed questions about their ethnicity, their gender, their age range, and where they grew up. By doing this, we were able to narrow down some factors that might have affected musical preference. And from here, we were able to make people more comfortable so we could ask fun questions, the more meat and potatoes, things such as their relationship with their family and friends and how they listen to music, to how many concerts they've gone to in their lifetime or the past few years, were all questions that we asked in order to kind of narrow down what factors would affect musical preference. And last but not least, we wanted to synthesize the information in a way that was easily digestible and presentable in the slideshow. And we were able to learn a few things, as we will soon find out. Questions we wanted answered, as previously stated: how do relationships affect musical preference, specifically parents and friends? How does your demographic affect musical preference? Do people who listen to more music attend more or less live events? And do any artists stand out as favorites among surveys? These will all be answered within the next few slides. Formatting the survey, we made sure to ask closed questions about demographics before asking more open questions regarding the survey's music preference. This was very intentional. It was to motivate responses and reduce the whole "I listen to a little bit of everything" response that people tend to do when they don't want to talk about music. And we were able to get a big range of music for our responses. So
these are just some of the numbers, or this is what describes that the people that took our survey. We had 32 people that took our survey, and 21 of those people fell into the age group of 18 to 25 years old. The next highest age group was 5 people that were 30 to 40. And then out of the 32 people that we surveyed, 25 were Caucasian and 7 were African American. And unexpectedly, our sample pool contained no other ethnicities. As far as genders, there were 13 males and 15 females, and 1 person that identified as non-binary, which I think is like a good kind of mix of that representation for that our survey. Next. This was, I thought we were going to get a lot of information from this. Maybe we could have worded the question differently, but it was pretty evenly half and half. People that grew up in urban areas and people that grew up in suburban areas, where only 10%, well, less than 10% grew up in a rural area. We weren't being able to tie anything as into someone who grew up in a suburban area generally listened to this music, or urban listened to this music. We couldn't ask or identify our students. We weren't able to really get as much information from this as we wanted. Next.
Deviation from family and friends. While our results showed us that majority of people do have similar music tastes as their family and friends, the groups tended to listen to their friends' music more than their parents and families. We can only assume that this is because people are able to choose their friends who listen to similar music as them. And to go along with this, majority of the group, about 37%, preferred modern music from 2010 to now, and the next closest decade were the 90s, which was 21%. Of all the decades that we listed, which ranged from the 60s up into present day, the 60s had the least amount. I think it was 0. I don't think anybody voted for 60s, unfortunately.
And this is how many hours a day people are actually listening to music. The majority listen to 2 or 3 hours a day. That was pretty expected. Whether they're driving or cleaning or working out, people tend to listen to music. We had 2 people that listen to music that were 6 hours or more. And we also had just a couple people, I think 2 people that actually worked in the music industry or their job involved music. And I would imagine that it was those two people
Yeah.
that listened to 6 or more hours a day. Next.
Where and when we listen to music, unsurprisingly enough, majority of people listen to music in their car, hovering around 60% for the where and when. A lot of people tend to listen to music while they're doing stuff. 22% like to listen to music at home, either while they're cleaning or doing homework. A lot of people like to listen to music while they're working out, but we learned from our data that people don't tend to enjoy listening to music just to relax by itself. It tends to go with something. As well as most people don't like to listen to full albums. I think there were 2 people that said they prefer listening to albums, but it's kind of hard to do while you're in the car. To go along with that, a strong majority, about 85%, listen to music with a streaming service such as Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, etc. And about 10% listen to most of the music on the radio, which goes in line with the 60% of people who listen to it mostly in the car.
This was what we found out about if people are going to concerts or people are going to free music events. And 60% of people do not attend free music events or paid for concerts. I was surprised by this data. It kind of says to me that the younger generation, people from the ages 18 to 25, aren't going to see live music. I have to say that COVID must probably take a part of it. I was hoping that people would think either like beyond that scenario, but it's hard to when every artist has had to postpone their concerts for the past few years. So there really hasn't been any live shows to go to. I'd have to imagine that that was affected people's answers in this survey. Next. So these are all the different artists that we asked people who their favorite artist was, and this was the list that they had. There's somebody from every genre. Everything's kind of newer though. I wouldn't say there's any really like old. Everything's probably in like the past. Well, there's something from the 90s. So everything's probably the past 30 years. But there were only a few artists that were listed more than once. Next.
Some of the things that stood out most to us are people aren't seeing live music anymore. As we just discussed with Nicole, 50% of people surveyed haven't attended free concerts or bought tickets to see a concert ever. And obviously Corona is making that increasingly difficult.
With 60% of the people surveyed being in the age group of 18 to 25, one would assume that the newest generations are not attending any live music events.
From the last slide, the genre preferences were very evenly distributed. It's also reflected in the favorite artists. Billie Eilish was favorited 3 times. Kenny Chesney and Lil Durk were both listed twice, and they were the only artists that were listed more than once. But it says both, but all of the artists became popular in the last several years, and they have postponed tour dates because of Corona.
Not one person selected live music as the way they listen to music most often, which, I mean, it just falls in
Makes
however.
sense.
Yeah, makes sense. COVID has probably affected a lot of people's willingness to pay for or go see live events, live music events. So to summarize everything, not one genre stood out the most in popularity. Most survey takers were 25 years old and younger. Peers had the most influence on preference. Where one lived was almost evenly distributed between suburban and urban areas. Parents had some effect on preference, and most people are using streaming services to listen. I think that my final thoughts and everything is, out of all the information that we gathered, the thing that stood out to me the most is that no one's seeing live music anymore. I'm older, I'm 42. And yes, during COVID, I have not seen any concerts. But before that, I probably attended 2 or 3 concerts every year. And that's what I've always done. So I just wonder if like maybe Generation Z, I feel like millennials see concerts. I just wonder if Generation Z isn't as interested in seeing live music when it's so easy to stream it and have everything brought to you over the internet. It's so available to them.
It definitely feels strange because like I'm 20 years old and like I feel like the people that I'm surrounded with definitely listen to lots of music live and they definitely go to concerts and stuff. So part of me is wondering if we just got a very unmusically inclined crowd where people just didn't prefer going to concerts or something like that. But either way, I mean, we obviously learned lots from our data, and this was a very enjoyable and eye-opening survey interview.
Tyler was great to work with.
It was great. It was great to work with Nicole as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.